we have very special guest with us today. We have Dr. Mustafa Barghousi, leader of the Palestinian National Initiative, member of Palestinian Liberation Organization, a physician and an activist. Dr. Mustafa, thank you for joining us, sir. Lots of happening since we last spoke. What's your assessment of this situation?
Well, it's very, very sad situation because what you see here is barbaric bombardment by Israel using airstrike, using artillery, using tanks in attacking civilian population, basically. I mean, more than 10,000 people have been killed, and including no less than 4,000 children. And it's a massacre after massacre after massacre. The Palestinian population of Gaza, 2.3 million people, are totally unprotected. And the Israeli strikes, with the help of the United States and the help and support of many Western governments, goes on and continues. It is estimated that the total amount of explosives that have been thrown on the people in Gaza exceeds the total power of the 2 nuclear bombs that were used against Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's absolutely unacceptable. It's like 10 kilograms of TNT for every person in Gaza. And they've already destroyed more than 50% of all the homes and houses. It's just an act of genocide that goes on in front of the whole world, and nobody can stop the Israelis.
Exactly. Mr. Mustafa, I would like to a very simple question first as to why the West is supporting blatantly Israel. And please confirm there is an influx of medical supplies, food and other items into the region.
Israel is conducting 3 war crimes at the same time. The genocide by killing people and especially children in this terrible way. The second thing is collective punishment, where Israel is depriving Gaza from food, from oil, from fuel, from medicines, from electricity, and from water. I've been talking to our teams there. We have 17 medical teams working there. And they told me yesterday that their problem now is scarcity of drinkable water. Children in hospitals could die at any moment because of lack of electricity. I mean, children in incubators. There are now risks of huge epidemics like cholera, like dysentery, like hepatitis, because of lack of proper drinkable water and because of destruction of the infrastructure. And on top of that, of course, we are anticipating other epidemics like measles because of the absence of vaccination for almost a month now. It's a very dangerous situation. And you have to add to that the fact that Israel is pushing 1.4 million people, or have pushed 1.4 million people out of their homes in another third crime, which is ethnic cleansing. And the total amount of supplies that got to Gaza does not exceed up till now 320, 330 trucks, while Gaza needs 500 trucks of supplies every day. That means 330 trucks instead of the needed 15,000 trucks. So it's a total humanitarian disaster caused by Israeli vicious and barbaric attacks on the people.
Dr. Mustafa, since there is no defined battlefield, the war is carried out on civilian areas. You are most probably in Ramla in West Bank. What's the situation there?
Also in the West Bank, of course, it's a bit different because nothing can be compared to Gaza. But also in the West Bank, we are encountered by attacks of the soldiers as well as the Israeli illegal settlers who are terrorizing the people. Up till now, since the 7th of October, the Israeli army and settlers have killed more than 140 people. And that brings the total people killed since the beginning of the year to almost 360. And in addition to that, they are evicting people from their homes also in the West Bank, where about 13 communities have been ethnically cleansed by Israeli settlers with the support and help of the army. More than that, they are conducting huge amount of arrests. No less than 7,000 people are now in Israeli jails many of whom are under administrative detention, which means they don't know why. But I want to add something. We received graphic and horrible videos of how the army is beating and torturing workers, Palestinian workers. The scenes are worse than what you have seen in Abu Ghraib in Iraq during the war on Iraq.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. This amount of impunity, this amount of feeling that they can do anything to Palestinians is unprecedented.
Mr. Mustafa, amid the horrifying loss of the civilians of Palestine, what are the major steps that should be taken by the international community?
Ceasefire, ceasefire, and ceasefire immediately. What we need is to stop this atrocity as soon as possible. You can't say we will bring few trucks to Gaza and the bombardment can continue. It's like saying I will give some food to one out of 100 people before they are killed. The problem is the bombardment. The problem is these terrible airstrikes. Israel has one of the most powerful armies in the world, and it is using its whole arsenal now, even with American additional support. And I've just heard that some Canadian troops have also arrived. I mean, it's unbelievable. All these countries that have these huge armies are attacking a civilian population of 2.3 million people.
Dr. Mustafa,
It's
since you have
out-
mentioned US, sir,
outraging all
I
of
read
us.
one of your interviews. You mentioned Israel would not listen to any country but United States. The only country that has leverage to tell Israel enough is enough and allow human beings to receive humanitarian aid is the United States. Dr. Mustafa, what do you think US must do?
Well, let me tell you, I think all countries of the world, all Muslim countries, all Arab countries must immediately tell the United States that you have to stop the Israelis or we will stop cooperating with you. The United States must feel that there is a price they will pay if they continue this unconditional support and encouragement of Israel. Yes, the United States is the only country in the world that can immediately restrain Israel and stop these massacres that should not continue. I even called on all Arab countries to tell the United States that as long as a drop of oil is not sent to Gaza, you will not receive a drop of oil from the Arab world. And I think this should be even done by every country that has relations with the United States, because the United States will only listen to the issue of their interest. They don't follow the moral values. They don't follow the international law. They're just allowing Israel to massacre Palestinians day after day after day after day.
Mr. Mustafa, what kind of solidarity Palestine expects from the other Muslim countries? And what would you like to say about the recent statement by the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, indicating that may become directly involved in a war if Israel does not agree to a ceasefire?
Yes, we heard that. We are not sure about what he will say today. Of course, there is a very possibility that the regional war could explode because of the massacres in Gaza. But that will also mean that Israel will also continue to destroy not only Palestine, but also Lebanon. What we want from all Muslim countries, and many of them have relations with the United States, like your country, is to immediately exercise pressure on the Americans. Tell them you have to stop the Israelis. We asked all Arab countries, unfortunately, who have normalized relations with Israel and have ambassadors of Israel, to kick them out and to tell Israel that no more normalization anymore as long as you are conducting these terrible massacres. And it's already known that Jordan and Bahrain have kicked out the Israeli ambassadors, but that's not enough. What we need is that the United States feels that its interest in the region will be harmed and affected unless they pressure Israel to stop this atrocity. This cannot continue. It's a massacre in front of the TVs, in front of the whole world. And of course, we are shocked, totally shocked about the Western media coverage, who keep blaming the Palestinians and keep putting the blame on the Palestinians for the fact that they are being massacred. It's unbelievable bias to Israel, and it is totally unacceptable. It is so savage that Mr. Graham, the senator in the United States, said when he was asked, what is the limit? He said, there is no limit. They can kill as many children as they want. Let's remember that we threw nuclear bombs on Japan to win the war. This is the kind of mentality we are dealing with. Inhuman, and not ready to respect any international law.
Dr.
So I'm
Mustafa,
calling on the
you are a
people of
doctor,
Pakistan.
you're a physician, you are an activist. We've come to know that you maintain a lifelong vision of non-violence. So do you still continue with this vision after this situation? And we have also come to know that you've been shot by an Israeli army while you were treating an injured person.
Yes, I was shot with two gunshots while I was trying to stop the bleeding for an injured person. And I was in my white coat as a medical doctor. And some of my colleagues were killed while they were trying to provide health care. But no, that doesn't change my mind, doesn't change my beliefs in nonviolence. But what we see today is an absolute number and amount of violent actions by Israel. I always believed and debated with my colleagues that nonviolence is a better approach. But the problem we face always is that even when we turn to nonviolent methods, we are encountered by severe Israeli violence, killing and shooting people indiscriminately, even if they were journalists or they were medical people.
Yeah.
I am calling on the people of Pakistan and all Muslim countries and all the Arab world to stand up today and get out and demonstrate and do anything you can to pressure the United States to force Israel to stop this massacre.
Yeah, Palestine has become the biggest graveyard of kids in recent times. Mr. Mustafa, why the United States, United Nations has failed to pressurize the Israel to the table?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Palestine has become the biggest graveyard of the kids. So we have seen it in recent times. Why the United Nations has failed to pressurize Israel to come to table?
Well, you are right. The total number of children killed in Palestine in 3 weeks exceeds the total number of all children in the world killed in all the wars in the world killed during the last 3 years. Comparing 3 weeks to 3 years. And yes, it has become a graveyard for children. And the United Nations is failing because countries like Britain and the United States and France keep obstructing the passage of a resolution for ceasefire in the United Nations Security Council. Not only that, but even when Guterres spoke about the fact that this is happening due to our subjection to Israeli occupation for more than 56 years, only because he mentioned the fact of occupation, Israel went after him in an act of witch hunting. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Israel said in the United States that from now on there is no place for balanced positions. This is the kind of atrocity we are facing here and the kind of violation of international law supported by the United States and Britain. So the reason why United Nations is ineffective is the United States of America and Britain and some other Western governments who unconditionally support the massacres against Palestinian people. More than that, many of the Western governments decided to suspend support and aid to Palestinians under occupation, participating practically in the collective punishment of the Palestinian people.
आप कहीं भी हो, वक्त कोई भी हो, बाखबर रहिए दुनिया के हालातों वाक़यात से। अभी सब्सक्राइब कीजिए सुनो न्यूज़ के YouTube चैनल को और क्लिक करें बेल आइकन को ताकि आप हमेशा बाखबर रह सकें।